Yo, what's going on everybody? It's Cha Cha, and today we are talking about the best subsurface lures for snakehead, and especially during the spring or the fall. These baits work all year long, and there's plenty of days through the summer where you can find a fire subsurface bite, but they typically shine most during the spring or fall when that topwater bite is either finicky or it's a little too cold for them to want to come up and eat topwater. Now, there are awesome days during the colder months of the year, or the transition months of the year, I should say, where the topwater bite can be super good, but those are only on your warmer days, and especially in the afternoon. It's very rare to find topwater bites early mornings when water temperature is below 60 degrees. So when you're running into that kind of zone of water temperature being between 50 to 65 degrees, that is when I look for these lures and I grab them out of the box and start throwing. So to start it off, we're going to talk about weighted soft plastics. Here is a Spectra baits Flippin frog, and this is just a simple paddle tail on a weighted hook. They're both on weighted hooks here, and I think this one is either an 1/8 or 1/4 ounce. This is an 1/8 ounce. Both kind of get you in that general zone. The lighter the better, because if you're running through the bottom, it gunks up your lure and it's kind of harder for the fish to see. Snakeheads' eyes are on top of their head, so typically when you're running these subsurface lures, you want them to be kind of in the middle of the water column if you're in 1 to 2 feet of water, which is typically where you're going to find them this time of year. So the Flippin frog is an awesome lure, and I really like the subtle presentation of this. I keep this on a Ribbit double take weighted hook, so it's essentially the same thing as you have with a topwater hollow body. You have 2 hooks, and when it gets eaten, the hooks pop right out. This has an incredible hookup ratio, and I think that's why I gravitate towards this a lot, especially during those calmer days when you're not having a lot of wind and not a lot of just disturbance in general. Subtle presentations like these can be killer, and especially if, like I said, there's no disturbance or you've got fairly clean water. When these come rolling by them, these are perfect presentations to imitate their typical forage, which is a bait fish or a crawfish. Both of these I generally will slow roll in the middle of the water column and maybe give it a few twitches, but in general you're kind of churning and burning with these lures. I also like these for if I come across a late season fry ball, or in the summer if I'm throwing it during the summer. If they don't want to eat topwater on the fry ball, these are excellent presentations to get below the surface and get right in the fry ball and trigger that fish to eat if it wasn't too concerned about the topwater frog or what have you. So next, we'll talk about the bladed jig. This is a tried and true lure from the bass world to the snakehead world, and all around a great presentation for dirty water and a great presentation for a reaction strike. If you haven't used a bladed jig or chatterbait before, this blade in the front is vibrating like crazy, and that really gives the fish something to hone in on and can attract them from a decent distance away. So this is the High Octane Custom Baits Chat Chat. Get that a little closer. Beautiful open hooked bladed jig, and this is the High Octane Custom Baits Weedless Chatter, and this is obviously the weedless version. Both can be super killer. Over time, I don't throw chatterbaits as much as I used to, and I'll get to kind of why I don't do it as much with the next lure, but overall with bladed jigs, they can be killer, but there are times that when you're working these lures, you can spook a lot of fish. If the fish aren't active and they're not actively feeding on bait, or they're just kind of in a spooky mood, I've had multiple times where I'm running bladed jigs past them and they completely spook off, and like they don't see it coming, and then they feel a vibration and then they kind of just get weirded out and dart away. That being said, that's only on certain occasions, and there are other times, especially on sunny, windy days, that these can be absolute killer presentations and really give the fish something to hone down on and really chase down. And especially if it's right in front of their face, this is a great bait for a reaction strike. Now, to get to why I don't throw bladed jigs as much is honestly ever since I started using these. And these are inline spinners. These are high octanes Weedless Trident, and they are absolutely killer. Like, I will use this as my first go-to lure in the spring and probably my last go-to lure before the bite completely dies off late fall. But essentially, as it's riding through the middle of the water column, as soon as you get it to the right speed, and you'll feel it when you get to the right speed, you'll feel kind of a humming in the rod tip. And what that is this big old blade right here is just spinning around, and it is a great presentation, just like the chatterbait or bladed jigs, in giving a bunch of flash for the fish to hone in on along with vibration, and has a perfect presentation in the back for their typical forage. These two colors I love a lot. This is electric green pumpkin with the Spectra baits paddle tail. This is the good old electric chicken with also Spectra baits paddle tail. I like this a little more in clearer water. I like that it has a little bit of flash. I've never known Snakehead to really care too much about a natural color presentation. To me, it's been more about them seeing it, and this is a great way to do it in fairly clean water, because you have a nice loud gold blade, and then you've got a natural back, that green pumpkin back, and a chartreuse belly, which obviously stands out a lot. And then with the electric chicken, it obviously is bright as can be. I use this in a lot of stained water or tannic water conditions, like on the eastern shore, and this stands out like a highlighter running through the water, especially on your windy days. Just like the bladed jig, this gets a lot of flash going with the sun and really helps you locate fish when other presentations like the simple paddle tail aren't quite doing the trick of getting the fish's attention. The blades and vibration that these give off do a great job at that. And I will pick these up for a chatterbait simply because I have more confidence that these will not spook the fish as much, and they simply just want to eat it. Now, I mean, all of these lures I've spooked fish with, you land on top of their head, or they're just kind of not in the feeding mode and you bump it up against them, they're gonna spook 9 times out of 10. But slow rolling these and slow rolling the rest, maybe giving a few twitches here and there, that's what I've had most success on. There are other presentations, but if I had to name my top 3 subsurface lures, it would be these 3. Now, I do want to say that I do represent High Octane Custom Baits, and I'm sponsored by them, but they are excellent lures for not only the action, but also the durability. You can see the wire is extremely stout. The hooks are extremely stout. It would take everything to bend this hook, and yeah, it's just something that I trust. So if you guys have any other questions, make sure to drop it in the comments. And we're getting into fall right now. Definitely had some cooler overnight temps, so that is when these lures are going to come into play. All of these subsurface lures are definitely going to shine more when we do have those warmer few days together, especially in the afternoon. The topwater bite still can be fire, but in general, to stay consistent through the fall and the early spring, I kind of like to stick to subsurface just because it seems to be what the snakehead prefer. So anyway, if you liked this video and you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up at the bottom and subscribe to my channel as well. I post weekly videos now. I've finally gotten into a rhythm. It's usually an educational video like this or a review, or my normal adventures on the water, which that will primarily be what my channel is. But just wanted to get this video out now that we're getting into the fall. And yeah, I'll be throwing these lures soon. So I hope you guys catch them up, and I'll see you next time.